In the middle of spring break, faculty were informed that we were not coming back to face-to-face classes.
Circumstances are different, and we have to adjust to that.
Really recognizing that this is new, we're in this together, but we'll figure this out together.
It was impacting them personally, it was impacting their families, was impacting their friends.
I think that when you're teaching in the middle of a health crisis, you have this extraordinary opportunity where you can really do what people call a teachable moment, right? We were in the middle of a teachable moment. I'm Sophia McLennan. I'm Professor of International Affairs and Comparative Literature and the Director of the Center for Global Studies.
My name is Marsa. I'm Associate Professor in the School of International Affairs.
My name is Penn. I am Assistant Professor joined between the School of International Affairs and Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering.
My name is Johannes Verdeker. I'm a Professor of International Affairs.
This past semester, I was teaching a graduate course on human rights and activism.
I taught 2 courses this semester, Economic Challenges of Africa, and the second course was Institutional Change and Development.
So in SIA, I taught science, technology, and international policy.
During the spring semester, I taught the multi-sectoral and quantitative analysis course. We tried quite hard to incorporate the COVID-19 pandemic into the course. This is actually a classic example of why you develop these techniques in the first place. You would like to know how this pandemic is unfolding, what the driving forces of the pandemic actually are, why you are seeing the cross-country differentials that you do. The entire reason why we develop these quantitative techniques for policy context and for the social sciences is exactly to answer these sorts of questions.
They were literally in the middle of a crisis that I was asking them to think about and to try to figure out one component, one problem that emerged as a result of the pandemic that they could address and that they could take leadership on.
My students gave presentations on how different countries are handling COVID-19. We talked about the United States, Italy, Nigeria, South Korea, and understanding that the health outcome we observe in different countries has a lot to do with how the government is handling that, as well as some of the cultural differences.
So students were actually quite innovative in the sorts of questions that they had raised. We had everything from students looking at the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on hate crimes directed at Asian Americans. Some students looked at the question of whether or not the pandemic had a differential profile across counties in the United States with different racial profiles.
So at some level, having students focus attention on the pandemic was beneficial because it gave them a real sense of what it's like to be in the middle of a crisis where bodies are piling up, where the human toll is on the rise, and where you have to act quickly and you don't always have the ability to take the kind of pause you want to get all the information that you need.
Despite this very difficult situation and a lot of challenges that many students have to go through, they still put in a lot of work and a lot of dedication to their work. I'm very proud of what they have managed to accomplish during this period.
Often in academia, we have a sort of enclosed ivory tower experience. Deadlines are clear, and the pace of things is obvious. With the pandemic, we couldn't work that way.
One of the things that you have to realize when you work in real time on policy questions is that there's lots of questions you would like to have answers to, but a lot of those questions you cannot answer because you do not have the right sort of data.
It's just hard to really make conclusions that easy or that quickly for an emerging issue like COVID-19.
Going forward, this is certainly something that we will be able to use pedagogically quite extensively. It is something that the immediately succeeding generations of students that are coming into SIA will have lived through in a real sense. So nobody will have been unaffected by this, absolutely nobody, because the whole world is affected in some way.
has been difficult. There's no two way around that. But overall, I think to me the satisfaction is that the students in the end were expressing how satisfied they were about the courses, and that they learned a lot of new things, and to me that's really very important.
The transition to a virtual learning environment didn't necessarily help us a lot, but it certainly showed my students that regardless of what happens, we still carry on, and I think that was probably one of the most significant contributions that we had from adapting to the virtual learning environment.